Awakening to Eternity, The Path to Immortality Through Consciousness. Part 1. Human experience is the state in which the observer explores every facet of their mind. The experience of God is the moment when the observer recognizes that it is the all-knowing mind. Then human experience transmutes into divine experience. If you are not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing to our channel. We do a lot of work to put these videos together. Also hit the like button to show your appreciation. Thank you and enjoy the video. In 1927, a scientific discovery forever changed everyone's life. You may already have heard of it. It is called the Copenhagen interpretation, formulated by physicists Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg. This discovery proves that the entire universe is created by the mind. More precisely, it shows that the state of mind of an individual determines the entire reality in which they live day to day. If that seems crazy, you're not at the end of your surprises. In this video, we are going to go even further, because this is only the beginning of the explanation. You will discover that, in addition, it is actually possible for human beings to free themselves from mortality, because it has been proven that the cells of the human body respond directly to the instructions of the mind that animates them. But the most incredible part is that, contrary to what one might think, this is very simple to understand. It only takes being aware of it, and that is the whole point of this video. So I recommend you stay tuned until the end, because every sentence is important. And sometimes, as in a movie, it's at the end that everything becomes clear, even what seemed crazy at the beginning. First, I'd like to go deeper into what Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg discovered during the Copenhagen interpretation. Briefly, this interpretation deals with quantum mechanics, meaning the study of the behavior of subatomic particles that make up everything in the universe. Put simply, studying the behavior of subatomic particles amounts to studying how things take shape. This opens the door to a deep understanding of how the universe, our bodies, and even our brains have taken shape. In other words, it is the study of reality in its entirety. What is astonishing about this research is that physicists discovered that observation directly influences how subatomic particles behave. Essentially, the mind's attention is intrinsically connected to all the particles in the universe. This means that the human mind constantly influences the reality around us. But how is that possible? The answer lies in a fundamental principle. The original substance of the entire universe, including your body, your brain, and the environment around you, is mental. Many spiritual teachings had already asserted this, and today science confirms it. Everything is spirit, everything is mental. If we understand that the substance of the universe is essentially mental, it becomes obvious that mind is the most powerful force there is. Let's clarify this in simple terms. For a long time, people taught the myth of a material reality as if it were an absolute truth. Yet such a material reality has never existed. What we considered to be matter was simply the result of a collective hypnotic state. Since the universe is mental, the consciousness of an individual who firmly believes in limitations, such as mortality, naturally produces the illusion of a limited body. In truth, the individual's state of consciousness not only determines the structure of their body, but also that of the universe around them. However, the actual nature of reality never changes. The substance remains always spiritual. It is simply the appearance that mind gives this spiritual substance that varies. Thus, we do not create reality. We come to understand it, and in understanding it, we allow it to appear as it truly is. For example, a person who is aware of their divinity, that is, aware that they are spirit, hence eternal and unlimited, transmits this awareness to their cells. However, in truth, the body is already light. The mother cell, sometimes called the Christ cell, already carries within itself this divine vibration, this immaculate spiritual substance. What the conscious mind does is simply allow this light to appear for what it really is, the perfect manifestation of spirit. In other words, it is not a matter of transforming the body, but revealing its true nature, which is divine, eternal, and without limitation. The principle is simple. Everything is spirit, and therefore you are the absolute master of your reality. This means that it is up to you to direct your life according to what you wish to manifest. Understand well that it is not about hoping or waiting for an external change, but about dedicating yourself entirely to a desired reality and sticking to it with consistency. Niels Bohr used to say, "In the drama of existence, we are both actors and spectators. Yet the one who becomes aware of their true divine nature no longer experiences any drama. They become the sovereign actor of their own life, directing their mind and their thoughts wherever they want to go. Your state of consciousness determines not only the appearance of your body, but also that of the universe around you. Yet the real nature of reality never changes. It remains spiritual. What you change is the appearance that the mind attributes to this divine substance, depending on your state of consciousness. Thus, you do not create reality. You grasp it and let it appear as it truly is. Take the example of a caterpillar. It doesn't just sit there hoping a miracle will turn it into a butterfly. It perceives its ideal, the butterfly, and devotes itself completely to it, forming its chrysalis until the transmutation is complete. Only then, once it has fully become what it is, can it spread its wings and fly. In the same way, a human being aware of their divinity reveals their divine body, free from all illusions, such as mortality. They then become free, fully in charge of their own existence. But that brings up a vital question. How far has my current state of mind led me? Think about this for a moment. Just a few decades ago, radio communications seemed miraculous. Cell phones, computers, or artificial intelligence belonged to science fiction. Today, these things are part of our everyday lives and seem obvious. Likewise, consider our ancestors who lit their homes with candles until one day someone discovered electric light. From that point, everyone began to use it, and it became perfectly normal. But here is something to reflect upon. How many of us can really explain how a cell phone works, how a camera captures an image, or how an artificial intelligence reasons? Yet we use these inventions every day. So the real question is, are you going to make a conscious choice to live as a divine being, or will you let yourself be guided unconsciously by the movement around you? As with every universal advance, you have the choice, but the result will be the same. You can follow the trend consciously, understanding what is happening, or let yourself be carried along without ever grasping the cause. Being aware means being master. The decision is yours. Will you be the fully conscious actor of your existence, or the passive spectator of a reality dictated by an illusion? Today, we find ourselves at a moment when everything is revealed. There is no more mystery. We now know that everything is spirit and that the universe is mental. Moreover, we understand that the state of consciousness in which we find ourselves determines not only the structure of our lives, but also that of our bodies. A mind fully conscious of its divine dignity does not hesitate to walk on water or transcend what once seemed impossible. And there is nothing miraculous about that. In 1912, Dr. Alexis Carrel, a Nobel Prize recipient in physiology or medicine, showed that the mother cell of the human body is perfect. This means that the very first cell formed in the body is entirely light, immaculate, and essentially spiritual. Its substance is mental, without defect or limitation. However, as soon as the cell lives in a body animated by a limited mind, its vibration is lowered. This decline in vibration alters its appearance, giving it this aspect that for so long we labeled material. In reality, this transformation is merely a reflection of the level of consciousness in which the mind resides. A limited consciousness, filled with limiting beliefs, reduces the vibration of this cell, preventing it from fully revealing its luminous nature. But when the mind reaches an unlimited state of consciousness, free from all limitation, this cell maintains its perfect, luminous, and unchanging state. This perfect appearance arising from a spiritual substance is not isolated, but in complete harmony with its environment, since everything is of the same nature. There is no separation between the cell and the universe around it. All is one. This explains why a mind fully conscious of this truth, that all things are spiritual, transcends the apparent laws of matter. Such a mind walks on water, flies with the birds, passes through flames, and keeps its perfect form forever. This phenomenon is easy to explain. Since everything is the same substance, there is no vibrational conflict. The body and the flames, both spiritual in nature, coexist harmoniously. There is neither opposition nor barrier because everything is one. This ultimate state of consciousness is what we call God. God represents the perfect vibrational principle that keeps the universe as an indivisible unity. By means of the mind, man can attain God, and by that realization, man becomes God himself. This is not a metaphor, but an absolute truth. A person who is conscious of their divinity manifests perfection in everything, because they recognize that from all eternity, they have been one with the all. However, you will understand that it is not a matter of creating God, but of recognizing him and reaching him fully in consciousness. God is the perpetual principle that maintains the universe as a unity. He is the sum of all substance, of all knowledge, of all power, and of all life. God is the state of absolute unity, which we can also call the state of being in love. Love is the ultimate vibration, the key to all alignment. In this state, the mind is fully conscious of its unity with the all. To illustrate this in a simple way, imagine that love is what allows human beings to consciously restore this unity. However, this unity was never lost. You have always been the all. Let's use a metaphor. Imagine that you are an oak tree and that your body is one single leaf. Initially, you look at other leaves as if they are separate from you. But by turning your attention away from the leaf and following it back to the source, the roots, you realize that you have always been the oak tree. You then understand that each leaf is simply a different expression of that single spirit you are. This is how reality works. Absolutely everything is an expression of the mind. Consequently, it's not about creating an ideal version of yourself, but about reaching it in consciousness. That is what we call true awareness. Awareness, in essence, is the state in which man recognizes himself in his totality, beyond illusions. It is the state in which man fully realizes that he is God. A human can choose to be aware of only a part of himself or of all that he is. This boils down to making a simple but powerful choice. Will you embrace your divinity in its entirety or remain confined to a fragmented perspective? Mortality in reality is only an illusion. Many ask, how can that be true when I have seen people die? To understand this, it is vital to remember that everything is spirit. No one actually dies. Every being simply returns to the source. Yet it is possible to choose to keep one's body and remain eternally young. How does that work? It hinges on the state of consciousness. In the same way that you once accepted the idea that you were programmed to grow old and die, you can now firmly adopt the idea that you are eternal life. This conviction transmits to your cells the information about their original perfection. Through regeneration, your cells will maintain their youthful, perfect appearance, for they will express their true nature, light and spirit. As mentioned, it is not about creating this reality, but reaching it. Your cells have been perfect since their origin. It is simply a matter of not disturbing their natural regeneration process. This is true resurrection, letting perfection be as it is without hindrance or limitation. However, know that it is not about hoping or daydreaming. It requires a firm devotion to this single truth. Commit yourself fully to this understanding and cling to it steadfastly until it becomes a living reality within you. The key is constancy and absolute faith in the fact that you are eternal, perfect, and divine. You can reach this state instantly because perfection is already in you. However, the speed at which you gain this awareness depends on your own nature and your level of commitment. So the path is to devote yourself completely to perfection until you attain it fully. As mentioned before, the caterpillar does not sit there hoping to become a butterfly. It undergoes its metamorphosis hidden away inside its cocoon and devotes itself completely to the process. It does not ask anyone's permission because the transmutation occurs within its own being. The truth already resides within. There is no need to seek outside for what is exclusively found within you. To see this from a more scientific angle, quantum theory illustrates it perfectly. This theory shows that everything in the universe is made up of the same energy. A single source gives form to everything that exists, and all things are just different expressions of that same source. This source is God, love, the energy of absolute unity, the one and only reality. Each being that arises from it is an expression of this spirit of unity. Within that unity, however, when an individual thinks of themselves as isolated or separate, they enter a state of consciousness not aligned with reality. They disconnect illusorily from the source, which lowers the vibrational level of their mind and consequently their body. This disconnection leads them into the illusion of death. But death itself is just an illusion, rather like a computer deciding to unplug itself from its power source. Even though it is intrinsically linked to that source, it would run briefly on its battery before shutting down, while all it needed to do was plug back in to keep operating. Likewise, human beings cannot change their true nature. They are eternal, perfect spirit. Thus, it is not man who dies. Rather, his body seems to decay when the mind that inhabits it loses intensity. However, the mind need only become aware once again of its unity with God, the source, through love. Love is the state of being that allows the mind to recognize that it is the all. That state ends all illusions, and the mind finally perceives reality as it is. This awakening frees man from all limitations, whether connected to mortality, slowness, needs, or any other illusion. Grasping this truth, an individual fully aware of their divinity has no hesitation walking on water or flying with the birds. These apparent limitations are purely mental and have never represented a real constraint. It's akin to a child choosing to experience cacophony before discovering harmony. That child explored the illusion of death while being life itself, the illusion of needs while being the whole, the illusion of limitations while being unlimited, and the illusion of slowness while possessing infinite speed. Today, everything is revealed. There is no more mystery. Thus, it would not be surprising now to see a loaf of bread appear spontaneously in your hand, or to wake up one morning and walk on water. These manifestations are simply the natural state of a human being conscious of their divinity, fully awakened to reality. It is called quantum theory, discovered by the physicist Max Planck when he was teaching at the University of Berlin. This revolutionary theory proves that matter derives from consciousness, and therefore that the mind is the invisible force behind reality, the one that brings matter into existence. But perhaps you are wondering what that means for everyday life. Well, quite simply, it means that anything is possible. More specifically, if you can conceive of something, then it already exists and you can create it. If you can conceive of immortality, you can achieve it. If you can conceive of success, then you can have it. And if you can conceive of flying, then you can do it. That is what it means, practically speaking. But at this point, I can imagine the questions. Yes, but I've already thought about flying, and yet I don't fly. Well, that's where we come to the full explanation. To grasp the difference between simple thought and the mind, you will discover that an idea behaves exactly like a seed in nature. First, it is planted in the mind, then nourished by energy until it fully takes shape in the perceivable reality. Just as a seed is invisible at first, then created by the plant and dropped onto the ground, from which a huge tree emerges out of the invisible. I saw that only 24% of you were subscribed. If you share these ideas, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Sincerely, it helps everyone and costs you nothing. Thank you.